For us, here in the 80% district, as well as the state of California and the United States, is really looking at it from an alternative fuels perspective. Taking a stand on it, working towards that for the future. There's many opportunities. There's great people doing this work already. Let's create those incentives for them so that they can come on down and continue doing the good work that they do.
According to the Realty Track, California ranks second in the nation in foreclosure volume. Riverside County ranks in the fourth place in the state for foreclosure activity. People are losing their houses by the minute. What are you going to do to help them and how? De acuerdo a Realty Track, California se encuentra en el segundo lugar en las ejecuciones hipotecarias a nivel nacional. El condado de Riverside se encuentra en el cuarto lugar en el estado de ejecuciones hipotecarias. Las personas están perdiendo sus casas por minuto. ¿Qué va a hacer para ayudarles y cómo?
Part of the reason why we are in the economic slump that we are in is because of the housing crisis as well. People are losing their homes. And although there's a focus here in Riverside County, although we may be losing our homes here, more people are losing their homes in Imperial County. And that's what I continuously hear on an ongoing basis, especially as I'm knocking on doors out in Imperial County. One out of every 3 or 4 homes is in foreclosure, it's for rent, for sale. People are just ready. People are not in their homes anymore. And so what we need to do is we need to regulate. Unfortunately, there was a lack of regulation when it came to the brokers and the lenders. And they went ahead and they took advantage of many people. They took advantage of people that perhaps didn't have the dollars, they didn't have the money, they didn't have the equity to pay for those loans. And so we need to ensure that folks that are providing those loans are regulated. But at the same time, I think it's important that people take individual responsibility. Those folks that are buying those homes, they need to have the capital. Perhaps they need some education, perhaps they need some counseling, and I would work hard to provide this type of measures as well. Thank you. What I propose to do is that currently we have people who've gotten into bad loans, and some will trick into these loans. And they have these skyrocketing variable loans. I would propose that we lock the loans where they are now and give people time to catch back up on some of the things, because there are many people out there who did loans that they shouldn't have done. And we put people in bad situations where they've overextended themselves. So we do want to continue to try to generate the housing market. We don't want to have foreclosures on the streets. That's going to contribute to crime as the neighborhoods start to go down. So we need to try to give people, give them a chance, even though they have made some mistakes, and even though they probably were over the loan amounts, but we can definitely suspend and leave them in those variables so they don't get caught in the variables as they go up. And again, we need to have regulations to prevent this from happening in the future, because it impacted on a national level as well. These loans, people have gone out and taken bad loans, and we have allowed people to do these loans that they should have done, and it's impacted us on a national level now.
Recent studies show that California's student achievement is one of the lowest in the nation. In Coachella, the problem is even worse. What are you going to do to change this reality? Estudios recientes demuestran que el rendimiento académico de los estudiantes en California se encuentra en su nivel más bajo en la nación. El Valle de Coachella, el problema podría ser aún más peor. ¿Qué va a hacer usted para cambiar esta realidad?
What I believe is that California is getting better. And on one hand, you need the accountability system, but if you look at this, sometimes this accountability system is not accurately reporting what our schools are doing. On the federal level, we get penalized if we don't hit a certain mark, and we don't get any credit if we do by growth. And you look at these schools, many of these schools are expanding, and they're hitting on their growth marks. They are getting kids improving their scores, but they're not getting these federal targets, and then you get this label of program improvement. That casts a dispersion on our hardworking teachers. Our teachers are out there and they're working very hard and they're doing a great job. There are some tremendous difficulties we're dealing with other schools. For example, in the Palm Springs Unified School District, we have about 70% of our 24,000 students on free and reduced lunch. We're dealing with some poverty. 60% are Hispanic and 30% of those are English language learners. Those are some challenges. Our teachers are meeting that. What we have to do is continue to fully fund education. And I look at education as not a cost, it's an investment. And I would stand up there and make a commitment that I will fully fund education. Larry and I share the same sentiments when it comes to this issue. Foremost, it's important that we respect Proposition 98, which means that 40% of general fund dollars goes to education. That's the funds that we need to provide a quality education for all our kids, whether English language learners or not, and to ensure that we have qualified teachers, and to ensure that we have safe spaces for our students. Now, No Child Left Behind got some good and some bad. No Child Left Behind now provides some standards, and we're held accountable. And I think that's a good thing. It's very important that we have accountability and standards so that we know what our goals are. But on the other end of the spectrum is the fact that it's an unfunded mandate. We have no funds in order for us to keep up. Test scores, for example, at least within CBUSD, have been gaining over some time. We've done a great job, but because of the fact that we had to be creative with our budget streams, for example, we had to be creative with writing grants and bringing in extra dollars so that we can continue to provide the quality education of our kids. Now, in Coachella Unified School District, a couple of things that we've been able to do is that we have coaches now. We have coaches that work with our teachers that specifically teach English language learning. We also have an English language learner department, as well as we have test scores, as I mentioned, that have increased as a result of this work. Now, there's a lot more that needs to be done when we're talking about education because of the fact that we're looking at poverty. We're talking about parents, perhaps, that don't have an education higher than the 5th grade level. And so we need to take a look at social concerns as well. We need to make sure that we not only talk about education from a quality perspective, but we also look at it from a community perspective as well.
So, it's different. So, if the lack of language speaking is still a problem in the learning process in the 80 districts, if so, what would you do to tackle this issue? La falta del idioma inglés sigue siendo un problema en el proceso de aprendizaje de los estudiantes en el Distrito 80. Si este es el caso, ¿qué va a hacer para enfrentar esta situación?
What I do is that what we're doing at Constantine Unified School District, that is we have an emphasis on English language learning. We have immersion programs, and we have a teacher now that is dedicated, and we have staff that are dedicated to getting the English language learners improvement. One of the problems that we're having, and it affects all the schools, is that it takes about a year to get conversational, and they start in the second year, they start to test them on the nuances of the language. So you look at, if you're looking at others who are learning the language, you get conversational, and then you got to take a test on what an adverb is, or pronoun, and the structures of sentences. Well, it's understandable why we're not doing well in the English language learning area. Our kids are learning. Our kids are doing well. Our teachers are doing a great job with this. It's just that we need to do some structural changes in how we test. I'm all for being accountable, but I want a fair accountability system. So we have an emphasis on English language learners, which we do, and we need a fair evaluation process.
Thank you very much.
What's going on with our educational system is over the years, especially since the inception of No Child Left Behind, we've been roboticizing our youth. To a huge degree, we've been dumbifying our kids. Kids are now being taught to take a test, for example. Teachers are teaching to a test. Students no longer have the opportunities that we once had when we went to public schools. We had physical education back then. We were able to take electives back then. Kids can't do that nowadays because of the fact that they have to test on a consistent basis. Now, there's many measures that we can take in order for us to improve test scores and in order for us to provide quality education. I mentioned some of those before. Making sure that we have coaches, making sure that we have paraeducators that are going to work with our teachers and work with our students and the families and the parents. But on the other end of the spectrum is the fact that we need to have more counselors in our schools. We need at-risk counselors in which those counselors take the time to sit down and guide our students. It's ridiculous nowadays that we have one counselor per 750 to 1,000 students.